We'll be focusing on making framed elevation, which is quite important in relation to doing some of the work tasks we might have to do later on. Now we've addressed basic elevation that we also see in our plan here. Now let's have a look at the framing elevation. Framing elevation creates an elevation on a plan, a working plan, and it allows me to actually be very specific on the plan I'm working and selecting something very specific. For example, if I want to make a truss up here, then it could be tempting to go to my west elevation. There we go. And then start to work on the truss. But actually I have no idea where I'm working right now. If I go back to my plan, I might be drawing here as well as here as well as here. Using a framing elevation, I in general make a plan, a working plan, and then I define an elevation based on that. So we'll just try to do that to show it. So what I do is I go into architecture, I do a ref plane, and now I'm just placing it along, for example, this wall. And my reference plane is just a plane I can work in. It's not something we've addressed until now, because actually when we work, for example, in our ground floor terrain, our reference plane we work in is the level, and everything we do is based on that. We can offset up or down, as we see when we do walls and so on, and it works perfectly in our levels, but we don't actually have it clearly defined in when we work in elevations and sections. So that makes it a bit tricky. I will just give it a name. I'll just call it truss elevation, because usually when I do this, it would be preparing for a truss elevation or preparing a truss. Now I have the plan, and I've drawn it from here to here, but actually if I look at it, it will be kind of like stretching all the way out here as well as up and down. So this is not a finite definition of a plan. It's just kind of a representation of a part of the plan. So I go to view, framing elevation, and then I basically select my my reference plane here, and I can, depending on which side I put my cursor, I can place the elevation to either side. I think in this case I might just place it in here on A, and we can see here it just gives it a standard elevation name, so I might just rename it to truss elevation, and I give it the same name as the plan, because then I have a very good idea about what it is and how it works. And I go in here. Let's have a look and see if this should work. There we go. And now I'm actually standing looking at that plane, and then I can start to model in that. So in terms of creating a working setup for me, the framing elevation is actually quite powerful, and it makes it a bit easier to actually make things on an angle, because I can define the plans, the reference planes, a lot easier with angles and so on than a regular elevation. So framing elevation, use it as a really good and powerful working tool in your toolbox.